Hey, how's it going? It's Nick. I am here to apologize for how terrible the sound is in this episode. I'm not a good sound mixer. There's a lot of pops and clicks and rumbles. Just bear with us for this one, and it'll get better in the next one. Ka-chow. Hello.
Hello.
I'm welcome to Two Dumb Blondes. I'm Nick.
I'm Kelly.
And today is spooky season. Ooh.
Spook.
So we're going to cover some terrible people and a scary story from the past.
Yay. I'm excited.
A classic creepypasta.
Love creepypastas.
Oh, yeah. They're super fun. And so before we go into that, I need to give you a rule of YouTube. So YouTube, as an entity, since you've been an offline YouTube girly for a very long time, and I have been chronically online.
Yes.
So there are many things you cannot say on YouTube now, or they take away a lot of your privileges.
Okay.
So Nick, swear to God, you better bleep these. You can't say. You can't say. You can't say. And you can't say. So everyone has come up with slang terms for these. Either unalive or sewer slide.
Okay.
Is just they just bleep that. You can't say that. They say PDF files.
PDF files. That's so interesting that you can't say any of those.
Yeah, that happened right around when COVID struck and YouTube started, like right when it was started, and there was a ton of misinformation going around about it. So YouTube started censoring people that made videos about it because they didn't want to spread misinformation until like government bodies like confirmed stuff.
Gotcha.
So, but that's really it. So if you see yourself, just try it. Try to avoid it, but if not, I can bleep it.
Okay.
But on to the quick icebreaker. So I found this.
Oh my God.
I know.
You have that?
Yeah. And it's full.
That's all our old DVDs.
No. These are all our old computer games.
Oh yeah.
So in this, I know she freaked out, but no one else knows what this
God.
is. So this is our old computer game CD case, and it's full of like every classic you can think of.
Oh, the memories.
So on here, I've got in disc form, and they still are in perfect condition. I've got Yahtzee. I've got the humongous games. Oh, they made Big Thinkers. I didn't know that. We got Big Thinkers.
Oh my gosh, Pajama Sam.
Big Thinkers Kindergarten. Where are all the other ones?
Look at Mom labeled them so nicely on the papers.
I have f***ed up that organization system.
Putt-Putt.
There's Putt-Putt.
Wait, is it just called Putt-Putt?
It's Putt-Putt Travels Through Time.
Ah.
And the disc, mint condition.
It's probably worth some money.
And no, they re-release these games.
Oh.
The Putt-Putt Pajama Sam games, you can literally buy them on your phone. They are everywhere. Because they were the most popular kids games of the early 2000s.
Oh my gosh,
everybody
I love
grew up
Pajama
on
Sam.
Pajama Sam, Freddy Fish. Oh yeah, here's Freddy Fish 4, Freddy Fish 2, Freddy Fish 3.
Oh, Freddy Fish, yeah.
Oh, my favorite one. Putt-Putt Enters the Races. Which is my favorite because you could customize the car and you get to race at the end. Oh, there's a Hello Kitty game, another Putt-Putt game, my short film. We won't talk about that one.
Short film.
I was in a short film. Arthur, Spy Fox.
I Spy.
There's Pajama Sam.
I Spy.
Yeah. Pajama Sam, life is rough when you lose your stuff. Okay, so this one in particular is interesting because this is technically Pajama Sam 4, but it wasn't made by the same company, and they changed the voice actor, and she sounds all like nothing like Pajama Sam.
Really? Was that the one where you have to find the
socks? Yeah.
I loved that one. I was going to say.
Yeah, it's in here somewhere.
That's crazy.
You can look through it. So Pajama Sam is interesting because it was actually the Life is Rough When You Lose Your Stuff was the last game they made because it did so poorly, and Humongous Entertainment got bought by Atari, so they changed the voice actor. You know who was the voice actor for Pajama Sam?
Who?
Pamela Adlo. She does the voice of Bobby Hill in King of the Hill.
Really?
Like, hey dad. Like, hey dad. Like, or how do you do it? Like, God damn it, Bobby.
God damn it.
But like, yeah, that's who does Pajama Sam's voice. But then they replaced her in the last game. Sounded nothing like Pajama Sam because nothing can beat her. She is an amazing, talented voice actress who does a lot of stuff. But yeah, so very nostalgic. A ton of kids games that we have in mint condition. We've got Blue's Clues. We've got Big Thinkers, Disney, Thomas, everything you can think of. And Blue's Clues, I Spy, so much stuff.
Yeah, that's crazy. What a trip down memory
Memory lane.
lane.
What a trip down memory lane. All right, today we've got some interesting stories, everybody. I'm going to invest in some stands so I can use two hands in the future. So I've got a really long one or a couple short ones. What do you want to go with?
Like either or?
Yeah, because I think the long one, it might be the only one we cover because it's like 3 parts. And I've never read it, so I don't know what it's about.
Okay.
Give that a go?
Yeah, let's do the long one.
Long one, all right. I double-checked this time to make sure everything was there, so I don't mess up again. All right, so our first story, am I the asshole for not wanting to move my wedding dates because my sister is pregnant?
Okay.
So I'm in a bit of a weird situation. My fiance and I aren't the most traditional and want to have our wedding more as a family vacation with a bonus of a wedding. My parents have a beautiful lakefront house that we decided to have our wedding at. When we were initially planning our wedding and figured out the dates, I wanted to have it on June 26th. The 26th was important to us because it's the day my fiance and I first met. But when speaking over it to my family, my sister said no because she'd already had a vacation on that date. And I was sad about it, but it wasn't the end of the world, so we decided to do it on June 4th to June 9th. Everything was working out perfectly. I let both of our families know I put our wedding down. I let our families know to put our wedding down for those dates and started wedding planning. It was perfect until last night. I got a FaceTime call from my dad who showed me the ultrasound, and I was super excited. All of the congratulations, jumping up and down because I was going to be an aunt. I was so excited for them and for my future niece or nephew, sorry. But it all came crashing down when I asked my sister when she is due, and she said, May 1st. So we're going to have to talk about your wedding. I assumed she just meant she wasn't going to be able to be in attendance, so I told them it's okay, we can just FaceTime them in, and her jaw dropped. Then my mom said, can we just push back the wedding to September? And I knew my emotions would get the best of me, so I said we can talk about it later, so I went back to congratulating them and thinking of baby names. After the call, I can't lie, I had a bit of a breakdown. I already moved my dates once to accommodate my sister, which was fine and all, but I didn't want to push it back again. But after 7 months of planning our wedding around this date and having my fiance plan around it, and I don't want to change it. Unfortunately, my family, and they think, will push me to move it and will disrespect my decision not to. I know traveling with a newborn baby is going to be hard, which is why I offered to FaceTime her. It was offensive to them to not want my sister to be present at the wedding. I feel so insanely guilty about being upset over having to change my wedding dates because my sister is pregnant. She's bringing a beautiful new family member into our lives, but I'm still a bit heartbroken that if I don't change the wedding date, it would seem as inconsiderate as an asshole in my family. So am I the asshole?
That's kind of hard.
There are 2 updates after this.
Okay. So am I understanding that like their wedding was planned for May and then her sister was like, "Oh, I'm due in May, so we can't have it then." And then they pushed it back to September?
No. So initially they wanted to do it on the 26th of June because that's when her and her fiance met. But they said they couldn't because they were going on vacation. Her sister was going on vacation already at that time. So they wanted to make it a family vacation rather than a big wedding. So that way everybody can have a good time and then they'll have the wedding while they're there. But they moved it because she was already going on vacation at the end of June, and then they moved it to the 4th of June.
Okay.
And then later, after however long, they announced they're pregnant and they're due on the 1st. And they were happy about it and they were excited, but then they just didn't want to move the dates again because they said they couldn't come. So,
okay, well, this sister isn't really giving her much to work with.
And it's kind of similar to a situation in our own family going on.
Oh, the same time
Yeah,
as her wedding. It's like, okay, so if the sister is getting really upset because she can't make the wedding because she's
Right.
like, okay, I want you to move it so that I can be there.
Yeah.
And then they were like, okay, well, we can do maybe September, right? And then
Right.
she was like, well, I can't travel with a newborn baby.
Yeah, and I agree.
So it's
having
like,
kids, that sucks.
okay, so it's like, I understand that, and I understand it would, like, she can't come to the wedding in June because she would have a newborn baby, and then in September still a really young baby. But it's like, okay, is she asking her sister to postpone her wedding for another year? Because that's a lot to ask.
Right. But
So
I think the pregnant sister suggested September. Like, she suggested September. Let me double check. No, the mom suggested September. So
Okay.
I mean,
but she's saying she doesn't want to move it to September still because she's like, I already moved it around.
yeah, and the verdict I said was not, and the verdict was not the asshole.
I would say not the asshole. I mean, it's like
I'm on the fence, honestly, because like she
Okay.
can't move the due date. You can move the wedding.
Right.
Like,
that is true. And the fact that you're making this a family vacation, like it's like you're basically only inviting your family.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess if a vital member of your family isn't there, that would, that would be hard on the sister and on the bride. But at the same time, she's like, okay, we could FaceTime you in. But that's also a lot to ask, to be like, okay, well, now I'm pregnant and now you need to maybe consider moving your wedding. Like,
yeah. And I want to read the top comment because it brings up a good point.
Okay.
It says, not the asshole. I'd move it back to the 26th because that's the day you and your fiance originally wanted. But now she's only wanting to go if she can bring the baby, or she'll probably try to get you to move it. Even further, saying so she's not traveling with a newborn. Obviously, people are going to be upset no matter what you do or don't do. But all that really matters is that you and your fiance, because the moment y'all are married to each other, the main priorities are the fact that y'all are marrying each other is the main priority, and no one else should matter in that day when it comes to what you want. Because I didn't consider that, because now that she's pregnant, they can't go on that vacation on the 26th. So they could potentially move it back to the day they wanted, giving them enough time to consider if they want to bring the newborn baby. It kind of gives them a little bit more wiggle room.
Right.
And it puts it back on the original date they wanted.
right.
So I think it's a win and a semi-win.
Yeah.
Because I think it gives her the opportunity to get to the wedding easier. Or, and now hear me out, if the pregnant sister's partner is a good person, I don't know if they're man or woman, so if they're a good person, just let your sister go. Let the sister go to the wedding. Dad stay home with baby.
Yeah. Yeah. Or
It's a family thing. Be like, hey, go take the weekend off. Go to your sister's wedding. I got baby duty. You just went through a literal birth. Go
yeah,
let loose.
let husband stay
Like, I know
home
she
with
probably can't
newborn
like drink
baby.
and everything if she's breastfeeding or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, just let her go. But,
Right.
like,
But I just don't think that she's the asshole for being expected to move her wedding around just to accommodate for her
Right.
sister and the new baby. And like, they planned the wedding before they found out they were pregnant. And I understand you can't really plan when you're having a baby, but at the same time, it's like, if you were getting married and I was like, oh, I'm pregnant on your wedding day, I would never expect you to like move your wedding day
But that
just
would
so
be-
I could be there.
No, but if you told me it's like, crap, I'm due on that day, I would immediately look at my fiance and go, well, we got to move the date. Like, we got to move it.
That's
Like, this
true.
is an unexpected thing. We need to move it because I want my sister to be there, because then now my parents have to decide which one to go to. Like, do they go to the wedding? Do they go to the birth?
True.
Like,
That's true. Because
But,
it's
like,
like two big
I mean, the parents, like,
significant things.
even if the wedding was on the 4th and she's due on the 1st, they could do both. And she's due May 1st, like the beginning of May. So that's a whole month of having the newborn before the June 4th date.
Right.
If they move it to the 26th, that's 2 months after the birth. And I think gives them a good chunk of time for her to recover, because it's 6 weeks recovery. More or less, but it gives her some time to recover and then give them the option to go and then see how they want that to work.
Yeah.
But we need to get to, there's 2 updates and they're long.
All right.
So let's see what the second one is, because I don't know if it's going to throw a wrench in the story.
Let's hear it.
Right. So a lot has happened in the past few days. I called my brother the day after I made this post, and he understood where I was coming from and told me that I should absolutely not change my wedding date. Since I was so worried about speaking to my mom and being ganged up on, and we planned on when to speak to my mom about not wanting to change my fiance and I's wedding dates, so he could be there to talk to my mom on my behalf to talk to me on my behalf in case my emotions got the best of me. That didn't happen. My mom called me the next day to talk it over. I informed her that I was not going to change my wedding date, and she was upset. Initially, but surprisingly receptive to it. I was extremely happy about that until she said, "You need to talk to your sister about this because she's not going to be happy about being forced out 1 month postpartum." I explained I wasn't expecting or forcing her to be in attendance. And then my mom said, "No, she's coming to your wedding. I don't care if she's a new mom." Oh, it's a little weird. After that, I got in a bit of an argument with my mom about forcing my sister to do something that isn't best for her or her future family, which I ended up hanging up on her. I don't take being spoken to in a harsh tone easily. I will let the other person know to take a minute to reevaluate their tone and then come back and try again. Oh yeah, she should be the mom. During the call, she also let it slip that she was also extremely disappointed in me for going to my brother for support instead of her. It is what it is. I needed a family perspective, which is why I called my brother. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt, but there's experiencing it from my ex and from you. You talk to your siblings way differently than your parents.
Yeah,
There's
not
even parents who have siblings understand that fact. Or my kids, when they get older, they're gonna have their own little language. They're gonna have their own secrets and shit. I don't care. I hope so.
I don't understand why you would be mad at your kids confiding in each other.
It's just a different generation.
I would be "Oh, that's
just
sweet."
a different generation.
It sounds like mom is the problem here.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Okay. I explained that I've already... Wait. Okay, here we go. I ended up calling my sister later that day, or the next day after the call with the mom, and she declined it. So I texted her and informed her that I would not be changing my wedding dates. It was a lot longer of a text explaining the reasons why and my emotions. She replied a day later with, you and I both know that your wedding dates aren't officially set, and the only factor would be communicating the change to fiance's family. I hope the hassle, sorry, I'm dyslexic. I hope the hassle was worth having my and your literal niece or nephew present. I explained that I have already ordered and put money down on multiple things, as well as having my fiance's family planning and accommodating them around the state for 7 months. Oh, dang, they were planning this for a while. She was not receptive, in my opinion, and said, there are really no excuses. You have the power to move the date, even when just a little later in the summer, to include me, and you're not choosing to, and that hurts. Which I ended up responding to that, and I'm not choosing to have her at my wedding, but understand that she may not be able to come, and I will FaceTime her instead, as well as explain that I already have moved my wedding date once to accommodate her. I asked her to try and put herself in my shoes and how she would have felt if I had to push back her wedding, which she replied, I would have moved the date in a heartbeat. That's the difference between us. At that point, I decided to offer up pushing it back to the 26th of June. Haha! As some of the comments said, to see if she would be willing to go to her previously planned, since she won't be going on her previously planned vacation. That is a good call. Which, thank God I did, because she told me she couldn't do the 26th. She's still going on the vacation. 20 days after my wedding. Okay.
No.
I know I'm not the most knowledgeable about babies since I don't have one and I only have known my best friend's baby. But I don't feel like there's a huge difference between traveling with a 1-month-old and traveling with a 1.5-month-old. There isn't. There's no difference. So that solidified in my mind that she doesn't care about me or my fiance or our feelings, but still expects everyone to accommodate her. At this point, per my fiance's advice, I am putting it in the fuck it drawer, or the F it drawer, as it says, and in my head, and I'm not going to stress out about it anymore, because everyone knows that the date is set, and my family would like to, and if my family would like to show up at my wedding, that would be amazing, but I'm not going to be upset if they don't. At the end of the day, I will just, this will just show me who prioritizes me as family in my life, because it's not always blood. Facts.
Yeah, I wonder if the next update is going to be about the wedding, or if it like happened.
Because like if the
I'm
sister
curious.
was like, oh yeah, the 26th works perfect, like can we do that, and agreed, then it's over. But the fact she's still going on the vacation, so it's not the travel that's the fact, it's the fact that it's a wedding, or it's her sister, but she still is going on vacation with the baby.
Well, the sister
Like, come on.
is just expecting her sister to accommodate for her every need, and
they already moved the
it's-
date
yeah,
for that vacation.
for her. So it's like, obviously she was willing to do that. And so it's like, I understand having a baby is a big thing in your life, but also getting married is a big thing in your life. And that's like something you want everybody to be at, and you want to be celebrated. So it's like, I could see how the sister who's getting married, like OP, how she could feel like, you know, people aren't like, her sister feels more important because she's having a baby.
Yeah.
Or her mom feels like her sister is more important, and so she should be more accommodating, when it's like, okay, well, like OP is going through her own things in her life, and they should be just as celebrated.
Well, like even when her sister, like they were planning, and her sister, now she's pregnant, she was overjoyed. She was like, oh my God, that's so amazing. Like I get to be an aunt. She was so excited. She still is.
Right.
She wants her sister to be there, and so she goes, okay, well, how, like she even tried to compromise the second time to move the date and said, okay, well, how about this? I move it back to the original date, since like literally anybody would think, oh, they're not going on vacation now because of the baby. Like they need to take care of this brand new baby. Like there's no way I wanted to travel. When I had my first, there's no way I wanted to travel. I didn't want to leave the house for like 6 months because I was so terrified of killing my child.
Right.
I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing.
And
like I don't, like one wrong move and my child could die. And I'm like, I got to be attentive and on it.
Yeah, the fact that she's still going on that vacation but still expects her sister to change the wedding, that's just her being selfish.
I'm curious where they're going on vacation
That's just
to.
sister being selfish. And it's like, okay, if there was just like real communication here, and if her sister came to her and was like, okay, how can I help you? How can we like work through this so that I could be at your wedding and like you could see your niece?
Right.
Like they could have come up with something perfect, probably June 26th or like whatever, but the sister just wants whatever she wants, and that's so.
So what's funny, one of the comments said, because like I was about to say, I was thinking, why doesn't she move her vacation? Can she move back her vacation then? Or like, why not move the vacation and then move the wedding to the 26th and just take your vacation later?
Yeah, much easier to move your vacation than your sister's whole wedding.
It's funny, one of the comments said, they're quoting the sister, I would have moved my date in a heartbeat. That's the difference between us. But also, I can't move I can't do the 26th because I'm going on vacation and I can't move it. So she just lied. OP, if she doesn't show up at your wedding, and if anyone asks why she's not there, it might be baby related. I did offer to move the wedding, but she had a vacation to go to.
Yeah.
Screw the sister. All right, last update.
All right.
Let's see what changes. See what fun antics are up to in this toxic ass household.
Also, I love that you put the Guitar Hero.
Well, yeah, I wanted something in the background, and I figured it appeals to my millennial upbringing, and this can change animations. It's broken and no longer does that, and only plays the ghost. So
well, it's cute.
Yeah, I made it myself. I designed it. It's very
Cute.
easy. It's literally like 20 pixels. All right, here we go. Well, update number 2. So this update is absolutely comical to me. As I said in my previous update, I stood strong and told my family I was planning on keeping my wedding dates. which did not go well, but at least I had my parents' support on it. Okay, so the mom did say, okay.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Okay. Everything was as calm and relaxed as it could be. My sister hadn't talked to me since the conversation, but I figured she was just pissed off at me and dealing with everything else involving pregnancy. But getting to the hilarious part of this update, 2 days ago, we got a FaceTime from my fiance's sister-in-law showing us 2 positive pregnancy tests. So now the fiance sister's pregnant.
Oh my.
She's due the first week of June.
No. Sister better not get what she wants because fuck all that.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Okay, keep going.
AKA when our wedding is. My fiance and I did all the congratulations and excitement just because once again, a first grandchild and a new baby to the family. So both of these sisters have the first grandchild on both sides.
Oh my God.
At the same time. Holy shit.
Poor OP is just trying to get fucking married. She's
I
like,
just
let
wanna
me have my wedding day.
This is the year of the uncles.
For
Year of the
real,
nephews.
like, stop it. Keep it in your pants just until I get married, please.
And it turns out he's from a family of octuplets, and they're all pregnant. Okay.
Oh.
Where did I leave off? Blah blah blah. Okay. After the call with the fiance and I just looked. After we got off the call, my fiance and I just looked at each other and just started laughing. Not only was my sister having the first grandbaby on my side, but his sister was having the first grandbaby on their side, all within the month before our wedding. Like, what are the chances? My fiance and I have always had bad luck with planning things, aka why we're planning on a relaxed, chill wedding instead of a big, extravagant wedding. Good idea. We had a few minute conversation and then ended up with agreeing on, in my fiance's words, fuck this, let's just elope. Hell yeah.
For real though.
Hell yeah.
For real though. Just drop the family and just go do your thing.
So that's exactly what we're doing.
Good.
Like I said, we aren't traditional, and honestly, we're just doing all of this for the families anyway, so they could just feel included and have some fun at the lake in the meantime. But with all the babies and 9 out of 14 people who are invited are not going to be able to attend, my sister and my brother-in-law, her mother-in-law and brother-in-law, my fiance's mom, dad, and little sister, and his brother and sister-in-law would not have been able to attend the wedding anyway.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Just go do your thing. And that's even better if that doesn't even matter to them.
Aw. So we're going to go to the courthouse on June 26th, the date I originally wanted, but wouldn't work because of my sister's vacation schedule to get married. We're going to keep the photographer that we had a deposit down and just switch from wedding photos to just some couple shots. We are still planning on going to the lake house. Take it as a pre-honeymoon. We've already let our family know the whole wedding thing is canceled. My side is relieved and his side is sad because they won't have the opportunity to celebrate us as a couple, but it just wasn't in the universe for us to get married on that day. So we'll plan something in the next couple of years, maybe get together with the families and just celebrate maybe for our first anniversary. Honestly, I can't even be upset anymore because it's just so funny, and we've been planning and it didn't even work out. So what was the point? But in the end, we're still getting married, and we're about to have 2 new adorable nieces and nephews. And this will be my last update because there's no more drama, and we just get to have a good time.
Oh, good. I really like her attitude about it.
That was a great one.
Really chill. So I'm glad they're getting their happy ending. Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
The family
one of the comments
needs.
says, I get why his brother and sister-in-law can't attend, but it's weird that the rest of your family members can't. Anyways, congrats. I'm glad the universe was able to give you something you could be happy about.
Yeah, for real. Well, it ended good, but
yeah.
family drama, man.
Yeah,
like,
I think with the drama, and they were trying to be like, they had already accommodated, and they were trying to be so accommodating, but at the same time, she was trying to be accommodating to a point where she's like, no, I gotta put my foot down and say we can't change it again. It's already gonna be too much. Like, even with the outside influence of people saying like, well, you're bad, like you gotta do this, gotta do that, and my sister's not doing this. Like, it's just like she still was like, okay, you know what, we'll try to move it. And then the sister was like, oh no. So at that point I would check out and be like, oh well, fuck you, I'm keeping the same day then. Like,
yeah.
If you can't move your vacation for my wedding, then you just don't need to come.
Yeah.
But like,
yeah.
I think the universe was like, they were owed some karma or something. They're like, all right, let's have your fiance's sister get pregnant and just forget it. Just y'all. And I think they're more excited for their nieces and nephews anyway.
Yeah.
Like, they don't seem like
and
huge
it sounded
marriage
like
people.
they weren't. It sounded like she didn't care about a big wedding in the first place. So she was like, I was doing this for the family, and the fact that she couldn't make any of the family happy, it's like, okay, then just like we're gonna get married and they can celebrate later, and I think that's perfectly fine.
And I think that's what a lot of like new like couples nowadays, like especially younger couples, I think rather would just be married. And most couples like that are together a long time. A lot of people just aren't actually getting married, and people that do now, at least I feel like the majority of people in my age range, like 30s and late 20s, like they are with their partner but don't get married and only do it either for like the tax reasons or just like literally for financial or tax reasons.
Right, yeah.
Like they're like, well, we're together. We don't need the government to tell us we're married. Like,
yeah.
And in most states in the US, if you live in the same address for 7 years, you're
common law
legally married. So
I think it's 3.
Is it 3? I thought it was 7.
I think common law married is if you live together, I think, for 3 years.
Or does it vary by state?
Maybe by state, actually.
And I know it's
I don't
not
know,
the same
but
thing.
something like
That's
that.
a U.S. thing. If you're outside the U.S., it's that's not a thing.
I just don't understand why people take weddings so seriously. Like, the whole point is to just like have a party with your family and be like, woo, like we did it. Like, why is everybody like so serious? Like I mean,
you got to admit, like my wedding was fun.
Yeah, it was really fun. There was an open bar, like whole family was there.
It wasn't crazy
we all
extravagant.
Danced, but that's the whole point. Is to just like let loose with your family and have a celebration together. So it's like
it was definitely
so
in the
serious?
beige area, the beige era of like the 2010s, 2015. So it was like,
no, it was really
we want
fun.
burlap and beige and off-white and shiplap.
No, it was pretty though. It
was definitely the vibe. It was I do like that aesthetic, and I know it's cringe now to be like, what is it? The whole fixer-upper thing is just is considered very cringe now. Like shiplap is now considered a huge faux pas.
Yeah.
They're stuck in like 2010 where it's like everything's brown and teal.
Yeah. And light pink and gold accents everywhere.
And like light pink or pink gold with like a cheetah print.
Yeah. And then like throw in the beige in the burlap. Yeah. That's what your wedding was.
Yeah.
It was like the pink and the
Yeah. I consider like, this is a tangent, I can cut this out, but I consider like our old house in Cheyenne Crossing a mid-century Gothic style house because of all the mudding and all the crosses and like just decked out to the nines of all of Mom's just like
that's so
Gothic looking like. But you know what's cool? That Gothic like over detailed artistry is coming back, and I'm kind of here for it. I'm kind of about that.
I just like the one thing I didn't like about that style is it made our house so dark. I loved it. Oh no,
I love dark rooms.
Okay, I like the dark accents, but like okay, well you can make rooms dark, but I like the light.
I do like in my apartment here. This is my living room. I like a lot of natural light in like an open space where most of the people are. My room is a dark, stinky man cave with RGB lights and gamer things on the wall, and it smells like Doritos. Like I am your millennial rainbow keyboard gamer in my room. The windows are drawn, everything's dark, and I'm like, don't talk to me.
And then I have like
Discord.
I have like incense and Palo Santo and sage next to my bed, and
I'm the guy. I think I'm more of the
plants in my window. And
well, actually, if you listen to this one podcast, I learned that there's certain things about oil rigs. Did you know that oil rigs actually float on the water? I bet you didn't. I'm smarter than
do they?
Yeah, I learned most deep sea oil rigs are just giant boats. They float. And
that's crazy.
No, it terrified me. I was like, what? It's not sturdy? I hate the ocean, and I wish for it to die. So
that's kind of crazy that we still need oil.
Yeah. Don't get me started. Don't get me.
We'll unpack these things at another time.
I run a conspiracy podcast, and I talk to way too much
Doja
about
Cat's
that.
in the Illuminati.
Yes, we know. Yeah. I'm not covering that. I've looked into it, and it is 100% marketing.
I'm just kidding.
100% marketing.
I don't think so.
Now, Beyonce, though. Yes, did you hear about the recent Beyonce conspiracy? I'm like, not that she's in the Illuminati.
Saying thank you to Beyonce.
Yes. And then the Kanye West one where he saved Taylor Swift because she didn't thank Beyonce, so he had to run up there and thank her and give her something to appease her. Otherwise, like, Taylor would have been, I don't know, Beyonce's monster form and like sucked her soul out or something like.
No, like, for real though, I fully believe that a lot of those people are into a lot darker things than we all know.
Not this time, Diddy.
Did you see the Google Earth image of P. Diddy's mansion? It's literally right across the water from the fucking cargo.
Yep, I know. I kept up with that, believe me. I'm for those who want the Zeitgeist podcast.
Yeah, go listen to it. I'm not on it.
It's on a bit of my buddy Greg. It's on a bit of a hiatus while Greg's going through some stuff. I'm gonna cover Diddy, but it's scary because a lot of people who are doing exposés are getting removed from online. Like, it's getting taken down.
Diddy. That's crazy.
And last thing, it's crazy because you know the question when people would ask a girl, like, would you rather be stuck in the woods with a bear or a stranger, a man that's a man?
Yeah, my friend presented that to me. I said, well, at first I said a man because I was like, because I thought I was already in survival mode. Like, if we were like stuck in the woods and then I was like stuck with either like a person, like a man that maybe I knew.
See, I saw it as like,
I was like, well,
hiking
obviously
alone.
a man, because then we could work together to survive.
Okay.
But then she was like, no, you're walking by yourself. You'd be approached by a man or a bear. I said a bear.
Yeah. Because the bear, you can predict, like you're told like, oh, there are steps I can do to not get killed. A stranger, what the fuck are they gonna do? It's a toss-up. They could either be a totally sane human being or literally Jeffrey Dahmer, who did that.
Yeah.
Or one of them just would wait in trails for people to walk by and just snatch them up and kill them. Like, and the thing is, what's crazy is that so many guys are like, I don't get why, like, why they would pick the bear. Like, if you had a man, like, we could protect you. That's what we're here for. And they're like, and then everyone's like, y'all don't get it. Like, nobody gets it. So then a bunch of people have been presenting, would you rather be stuck in the middle of nowhere with a bear or Diddy? And all the guys chose the bear. And
there
so
you go.
every guy was like, so you do get it.
That's so funny.
You just hate women.
That's so funny.
You just hate women.
No.
You get it. you just suck.
They just don't like whenever women are like a lot of men, because they're like, well, what about me? Like, I'm a good guy. And I'm like, yeah, well, think about like all the other guys that are terrible. Like, can you acknowledge that they exist?
The second they say, I'm a good guy or I'm not like other guys, run away. They have a secret fedora somewhere in their car, and they have like, they're trying to break the habit of going, my lady, run away. They are a terrible man. Anyway, I've got one more story and then the scary one. So am I the asshole? Am I the asshole for boarding the plane and leaving without my wife?
Wait, okay.
I know how this sounds, but hear me out. This is also not my usual account, but I don't want to risk my wife seeing this as it is currently a sensitive subject. My wife, female 43, and I, male 47, have a daughter, female 21, who goes to college out of state. We will call my wife Meg and my daughter Jess. Jess is in her junior year of college. Over the summer, she was employed by her university and was able to stay in the dorms. After summer, she was moving out of the dorms and into her apartment off campus. Meg and I live in the PNW of the Pacific Northwest. Jess goes to school on the East Coast. We usually go visit Jess a couple times throughout the semester, typically parents' weekends and move-out day. She also comes home during the holidays. Let me start by saying that traveling with my wife is not a great experience. I am very type A and like to have everything organized and make sure that we get where we need to we get where we need to go early, especially when traveling. My wife is the opposite. She's very go with the flow, and we'll get there when we get there. I do my best to meet in the middle, but not when traveling by plane. I understand. I'm also a father. You have to show up at least 6 hours early. Last year during Parents' Weekend, Meg and I were flying out to see Jess. Our flight was at 10 a.m. Our airport isn't huge, but not tiny airport either. I told my wife we needed to be at the airport at 10 a.m. I already read that. We needed to be at the airport because it was early because it was 90 minutes away. And we live... I'm so sorry. I'm so dyslexic. They need to leave about 5 minutes early, about 90 minutes early, because they live 30 minutes from the airport. That being said, I wanted to leave at the very least by 8 a.m. so we could find a place to park and get checked in and walk a little bit. And of course, I got up at 6, made sure everything was ready and accounted for, and my wife doesn't get up that early. It took me attempting to wake her up 5 times before she eventually got up at 7:40 and wanted to make coffee, shower, eat a bowl of cereal. Let's just say we didn't leave the house until 9. I ended up being busier at the airport than normal, likely due to many colleges having a Parents' Weekend. It took so long to get through security that we missed the flight. Rightly so, the airline refused to refund our tickets. We were able to get new tickets, but not until the next day. So I missed the Friday afternoon and Sunday morning with our daughter. Jess was disappointed, to say the least. Fast forward to now. We're flying down for a long weekend to help her move. We take one flight from our town to a bigger town nearby, and then the flight from there to my daughter's college town. Again, it was a long morning of me pushing my wife to get her to move along. Due to the last airport mishap, I wanted to make sure we got there on time, had everything we needed, and did not miss the flight again. I'm out of breath. We took our flight and landed in the connecting city at a much larger airport. We had about a 1-hour layover. We got off the plane at 9:15, and our next plane started boarding at 9:40. We had to make multiple rail trips, like trams, to get from where we landed in the terminal to get to our next terminal, which was about a 15-minute ride to our next plane. Oh, man. Did you go to DFW? My wife tells me that she wants to get coffee, and there is a little market next to our terminal that sold hot food and coffee. I asked if she wanted me to grab it for her, but she said, "No, I want Starbucks." She said, "Well, Starbucks is a rail ride away and a little bit of a walk." I told her we couldn't do that because we didn't have enough time. She stated that we had enough time, and if I didn't go with her, she would go by herself. I tried to discourage her, but she was determined. She walked away at a brisk pace, even for her, and said she would be back just in time. 15 minutes went by, and she was nowhere to be seen. They started calling for boarding groups. I called my wife, hoping she would be nearby, but she didn't answer. They called a few groups, and then ours. In panic, I called my wife again 3 times. Finally, on the last call, and said she was on her way, but it was a long line and she had to wait a bit. I told her that they were almost done with boarding and she needed to hurry up. I waited by the gate, but the attendant said that they would need to shut the gate in 2 minutes. I waited, and she didn't show up. The attendant asked if I wanted to board, otherwise they're closing the gate. I tried to plead with her to wait a couple minutes, but they insisted that they couldn't, so I boarded the plane. Oh, man. A few minutes later, my wife calls me and says that the attendant won't let her on. They have already removed the boarding ramp at that point. Oh my, how long did she take? She told me I needed to tell them to let him off the plane to be with her, and I said no. It's not fair to do this again to Jess. I told you that we didn't have time, but you decided to do it anyway. I told her to purchase a new ticket for the next flight, and I would see her there when she gets there. I got to Jess's school, and she seemed unbothered by the whole situation. She didn't even really talk about it. I thought maybe she realized it was her fault and just wanted to drop it. But boy, was I wrong. We are home now, and she hasn't talked to me since the trip, over a week ago, and is insisting that I am an asshole. So am I the asshole? And there is an update that I'll get to. And then the top comment, really quick. I stopped being the caretaker for my partner after the first time we missed a flight. I told him, nope, never again. Next two flights he missed, and the man bitched and moaned, explaining again that he's a damn adult and has choices to make. The third time he missed a 10-day cruise, and he's never been late again. He's pissed about it, but listens to me and gets up early and gets ready and out the door on time. Oh, and you're not the asshole. So, yeah. All right, so thoughts before the update.
Damn, okay.
So,
I
Mm-hmm.
feel for you, girl. I am so type B when it comes to getting to airports and stuff too. Like I'm always like, okay, okay, we're good. We're going to get there on time. It's going to be fine. But there's also a little fire lit under my ass because I have missed a flight before and it was all my fault. And it was because I woke up late and I got there and they like closed the doors. They were like, sorry, I had to buy a ticket for the next time, but I was bawling. I was like, oh my God. But I learned my fucking lesson. And I was like, I'm never going to do that again. I also am a big advocate. As soon as I get to the airport, I need my Starbucks. I need coffee. I need food because it's usually like early in the morning. You're rushing to get there. You haven't eaten. You haven't drank anything. You don't want to get on a 4-hour flight without having anything in your system. So like, I get that. You have to learn from your mistakes. Like you have to learn how to make that time. It's like, I get it. You wanted your Starbucks, but you knew that there wasn't enough time. And like her husband already had missed a flight before. You're not the asshole. Like she should have learned her lesson the first time and like been like, yeah, you're right. I don't have time for Starbucks. I'm going to miss the flight to see my fucking daughter.
Yeah. And the thing is, I can kind of see that I feel like something that she may already just have this type of personality, but I think the fact that they've been married for so long, she's become pretty, in some ways, codependent on having him get her up and making sure everything's ready, getting everything together. So she's gone for years without having to do any of that stuff.
Right.
So whenever she was taking so long, she's like, well, my husband's got this. He's going to make sure I can get on the plane. But like, that's not up to him. Like,
right.
I don't think she understood that he didn't have that kind of power because she was like, tell them to let you off the plane. And which also makes me think that she knows that they can't let her on the plane, but she'll mess up their daughter and like have them miss time with her.
Right. Well, how could her husband have even gotten off the plane if the boarding ramp was gone?
Yeah, there's
and
no
stuff.
way.
And she's saying, I get how she's saying like you shouldn't have even got on the plane in the first place, but it's like, maybe he was like, I got on when I had to.
No, because like I get it, because the reason that he got on is because not long, like I think it was like a couple months before, they had missed their flight and missed the whole weekend.
And it would have cost them that much more money just to get a fucking Starbucks drink.
Yeah, and their daughter was really upset that they missed those days.
Yeah, honestly, if I was in her shoes and my husband did that to me and was like, listen, I tried to call you, I tried to tell you, like, I told you they were boarding and you still wanted your Starbucks, I would have been like, you know what, that was my fault and I will never do that again. I'll get a new plane ticket. Like, you have to accept when it's like, that was all your fault. Mm-hmm. That was all your fault. You decided you had enough time to go get Starbucks when he specifically said no. And the fact that the Starbucks was in a different terminal and you could have gotten coffee at a different place, like, you should have just gotten the other coffee and been fine with it. Like,
you're like, it's literally like minutes, like, until you have to board. It's a connecting flight.
And getting around to other terminals, especially like at DFW and places like that, is crazy, and it'll take even longer than 15 minutes sometimes.
Yeah.
And you have to wait in line at the Starbucks. Like, there's no way. There's no way.
No, it's stupid because like I've never missed a flight because I'm absolutely terrified of it, because our dad, I was on the same boat as him. It's like, we need to get there early because I don't like to rush through all that stuff. I don't want to run to the gate. I don't want to be all sweaty and stressed out on the plane. I like to get there early, get through security, and sit for like an hour and just be ready, because I just want to get through all the bullshit, because I don't want to have to like freak the fuck out trying to do it all fast, because it's never fast. Like, that's why I agree getting to the airport early is good. I understand people don't want to wait and they just want to get on the plane and go. It's just like, why I don't know. It's so confusing why people set themselves up for failure so much when it comes to getting on planes.
Right.
Like,
and
you know how shitty it is to get on a plane.
Yeah, I've definitely done that. Like, me and my boyfriend cut it close. Our last flight we were on, like, we ran up to the gate and they just started boarding. And I was like, perfect timing. But, like, you know, we got to be,
Yeah.
we usually try to get there like an hour before. But it's like with flights, you can't do that.
It was funny because I remember when we were really, really little, we were flying with just mom to meet dad up in Chicago when he had that apartment. And you were really little. Or I think that's where we were going. You were super little, and we had a connecting flight, but we only had a literal 7-minute window to get to that, and it was literally on the opposite side of the airport. And it wasn't gigantic. We didn't have to take a rail or anything, but we had to literally sprint like half a mile. And so I'm freaking out. A little like 7-year-old me had my little rolly backpack. I'm like, like freaking out. And of course, you're tiny and can like you're waddling like, and so mom has you, and you're walking at this point. So because mom has a billion bags, and eventually you trip and start just bawling, and mom's like, huh, huh. And then this random giant man with a beard scoops you up and goes, "Where are you headed, ma'am?" And just starts running with you, and you're like, I remember this very vividly.
I don't remember this.
Because you were like, kind of like, you were crying at first, and then all of a sudden you were like bouncing, and you're like, where are we going?
I do really bad in stressful situations, like when I can't keep up. So I was probably like, yay, man.
Like the time you like flew out the back of that golf cart.
Oh, yeah.
That was pretty brutal. You scraped your whole back up.
Yeah, I like scraped the whole first layer of skin off my back.
Update. All right, and they also said that there was a tiny edit that she does not have ADHD or anything. She does not have it.
Okay.
So that is not an excuse. Hi, everyone. Thanks again for all the advice. I've read so many comments and looked into some information, and I wanted to provide an update. My wife has finally started talking to me again. When she did, I told her I wanted to have a conversation about the situation. I wanted to give it a couple days for emotions to settle down. For some of the comments here, some of the comments people gave me had a great idea, and I wanted to see what you thought about it. For all future trips, I will have my tickets, and she will have hers. I typically drive to the airport and leave my car on one of the paid lots. So I would drive myself, and she could Uber. She will have all the freedom she wants to do and what she wants, but it's up to her to arrive on time and board the plane. I let her know that it was starting to feel like I needed to keep track of both of us, and I phrased it in a way that's made it sound like I didn't want to be controlling over her and let her manage her whole life and let her manage her own time. She wasn't happy about this, but reluctantly agreed. Now get to the bigger issue that I didn't realize we had until reading the comments of this post. Call me oblivious, but I never really thought that there was any issue between Meg and Jess. Oh, between the mom and daughter. I didn't realize that. After talking to my wife, she wouldn't admit to any issues and stated that she would never intentionally delay a flight so that we couldn't see our daughter, and acted offended that I would ask such a thing. If that was her actual purpose, I don't think I would be able to prove it, but it will be at the forefront of my mind in the future. After talking to Meg and Jess, we decided on the following. Meg and I will be visiting Jess on Parents' Weekend, but I will be attending Father's Weekend on my own from now on. I will be attending by myself to get some alone time with my daughter, and Jess seems very excited, and surprisingly, Meg didn't seem to have an issue with it this time. Thanks again to everyone who took the time and gave me advice. I really appreciate it. I hope everything works out moving forward. I don't like that.
That's it?
That's it.
That's all we got? That's weird.
The comments after that, they're like, I'm glad you're able to come to an agreement, but that still sounds fishy. Why is she so eager to be late? They're like, why did she agree so easily that you would go by yourself?
So there obviously is something
I feel like
there, because he even said, I didn't realize like there could be something going on between Jess and Meg.
It sounds like he's A-type, so I'm sure I don't know, like he communicate, like does he communicate well enough with everybody? Like,
yeah, but he
like the
never,
mom and daughter are just like, maybe it's not like there's something happened. Maybe it's just there's just tension for some reason. And I don't know how mother-daughter's relationship works. I mean, you know that better than I do. It's just, I feel like when there's tensions can build over something small, and like maybe someone said something one time, or maybe just like maybe the mom feels guilty for being late, so she just figured that she would just not go, or just make herself miss the flight so she wouldn't have to.
She sounds like, she deliberately, like the fact that she woke up at 7:40 and was in no rush to get to the airport, and he's like freaking out, and then like 15 minutes before they're boarding, she's like, I'm gonna go get Starbucks. Like there's something deeper there. Like you never know.
Maybe she fell in love with the TSA agent, and
she could be having an affair. She could be going through her own thing. She could be, maybe mom and daughter had an argument like last time she was there that dad didn't hear about, and
it feels like there's something else. Because I don't know.
There's definitely something missing, and I think that the dad doesn't know what's going on. So he's just like, why is she missing her flights? But I think it's just deeper than that. Yeah,
I think either the OP is leaving out something, or he's just completely oblivious, or it's just that the last bit of the update just doesn't sit well with me. That she at first was like reluctant to like do this separate ticket thing, but then was fine. And then when he said, I'm going to Father's Day weekend on my own this time, she was like surprisingly happy about that. She's like, oh, great. Like, Liz is like, oh, I don't have to worry about like getting there. Like, or I want him to be gone. Like,
yeah. Or, maybe taking the good side for mom. Like maybe she has really bad flight anxiety and doesn't like to talk about it. And she's like, does anything to not get on the plane.
True.
It could be that. It could be family stuff. You never know what somebody's thinking.
I don't know. I feel like
it's especially hard to tell through a Reddit post. So
because the other day I learned that like 90% of the world aren't fully self-aware, like of their own self. Like
that's crazy.
I understand like there's people that like trans people or like people in like those types of bodies. Like I understand that's a whole different thing. It's just self-awareness. Like people don't understand what things mean in their own body. Like they're not aware of their own actions on how. Oh no, I remember. It was how they're not aware of how their actions affect the world around them. They only view what they're doing within themselves. They're not aware of anything else. They're not aware of themselves within the world. They only focus on what's happening within them and literally see the world as like not part of them. Like it's separate and nothing else matters but them.
Or how some people say that they don't have an inner monologue.
That's crazy.
I'm like, so you're an NPC is what you're telling me.
Yeah, that's it.
Like that's crazy. Like
majority of people feel that.
If you don't have an inner monologue, you are not self-aware, because how the fuck would you ever be talking to yourself? Or you're just not smart enough to be like, oh, that's my own. How would you even have thoughts if you didn't have an inner monologue? Well, what do you mean?
You know what aphantasia is? Aphantasia? No. Okay, so this is a good example of what you're talking about. So when I say think of an apple, so I'll say what I can picture in my head when I think of an apple. Like I can change it. Like in my head, I can picture like a full grocery store like stock image apple in a white void, or I can picture it in my head like in a grocery store or on my table, or I can picture the word apple or or like a drawing of an apple, and I can see like right now I can see that in my head. Like I know what that looks like.
Right.
And there are people that when you say think of an apple, they're like, okay, I'm an apple, but they don't see anything in their head. There's no image. There's no. It's so weird because if I don't have it, there's no way I can understand it.
Sounds like those people need to.
I mean, maybe I feel like a lot of people do
see drugs. The world. You could see a lot of the world.
And that made me down a rabbit hole of people who do not have those type of thoughts, do drugs to experience those types of thoughts, to have that inner monologue, to be able to talk to themselves. Because like I listen to audiobooks because one, if you listen to my story, I can barely read. It's just when I hear an audiobook, it's like I'm watching a movie in my head. Like I can see the whole thing playing out in my head. That's why I sometimes don't watch the movie if I've read the book, because it's going to look completely different than what I have the movie version in my head already.
Yeah, no, I think that's like genuinely a problem. Like, I don't want to offend anybody out there.
Yeah,
like
a lot of people
anything,
suffer from it.
But like, for real, you should be able to see stuff in your head and like imagine things
Or
like
talk
that.
to
Like, I
yourself.
feel like in our society, like we're maybe taken so far away from that because of we have so much social media. We're so glued to a screen. Like, we're like little fucking robots just like scrolling all day. And I
love
feel
being a
like
robot.
that probably has a lot to do with people's cognitive abilities now and stuff. And
Oh, yeah. My kids'
the way
attention
that
spans
people
are
think,
minuscule.
and it's crazy. Go take some mushrooms, like, for real. Don't
Safely.
safely.
In a safe way, in a controlled environment. That actually, we shouldn't promote them at all because they're technically
No,
illegal.
don't. They're illegal.
They're bad.
We live in Oregon. Actually, they're illegal here.
I
So
literally said we live in Texas at the beginning.
no, we don't.
Is weed
Don't
legal
listen to me.
Is weed legal here yet, or just
No.
CBD stuff?
No, just CBD stuff. I don't know if it'll ever be legal here.
We suck. We don't even have gambling here. All right, well, we have two options now. We've got one more story. We can either read the creepypasta, or we can read another Reddit story. I'll let you choose.
Creepypasta. It's
Creepypasta.
spooky. We need spook.
All right. So, since it's spooky season and I've been feeling rather nostalgic lately, I mean, who can blame me? I'm a millennial. It's literally in my blood. So, we're going to read a classic creepypasta, one from my early days into the world of internet horror, Squidward's Slewer Slide. Or AKA
Slewer Slide.
the SpongeBob Lost episode.
What?
Yep.
Oh, God. Okay, wait. Before we start, can I go pee really fast?
So I'll say, and the reason I want to read creepypastas, I actually tried to be a creepypasta narrator back whenever that was a big thing. And I was very much into the world of creepypasta and like No Sleeps. And I was reading them. I was listening to them back in like 2015, 16. And I was so obsessed with them, doing it every day to the point where like I mentally was like so scared all the time that I just stopped reading them altogether for years because I had gone so deep that I was so paranoid and having such bad nightmares. It's like, I have to stop.
Yeah, that's what I used to listen to. We were talking about it. I used to listen to creepypasta podcasts and stuff in the car because they were just really interesting. But then I also had to stop because I was like, these are like creeping me out. Some of them were just like really,
Yeah, I stopped after.
really real.
And for those who know, I stopped after I read Baraska for the first time. That fucked me up so bad. That is a fucked up story.
I don't know if I remember what that one is.
It's one of the popular ones, but it got turned into a book, like, and then an audio podcast drama where like they acted out, and Dylan Sprouse voices the main character in it.
Oh, nice.
Cool.
You look like him.
Thank you.
I've thought that for a while,
He's in Kingdom Hearts now, so that
especially
makes me
as they've gotten older.
happy. Yeah, and they do kind of look a little different.
Yeah,
Like,
they do.
Dylan's bulkier.
Like, he has like your hair color
Yeah.
and like face shape and stuff.
Yeah. All right. Let's get into Squidward's Unaliving. Or Red Mist, as they changed the title eventually. Okay. And fun fact, one of the modern SpongeBob's episodes has an Easter egg to this story in the episode from 14 years ago. I just want to start off by saying that if you want an answer at the end, prepare to be disappointed. There isn't one. I was an intern at Nickelodeon Studios for a year in 2005. For my degree in animation, wasn't paid, of course. Most internships aren't. It's not true anymore. But it did have perks beyond education. To adults, might not seem like a big one, but to most kids at the time would go crazy for this perk. I would work directly with the editors and animators and got to view new episodes days before they aired. I'll get right to it without giving any too much unnecessary details. They have very recently made the SpongeBob movie, the first one. The entire staff was somewhat sapped of creativity afterward, so it took them longer to start up the next season. But the delay lasted longer for more unsuspected reasons. There was a problem with Series 4. There was a problem with the Series 4 premiere that everyone and everything that set everything back months. Me and two other interns were in the editing room, along with the lead animator and the sound editor, for the final cut of an episode we received. It was supposed to be the episode Fear of a Krabby Patty. I remember that one. Do you remember?
The one where Squidward won't eat the Krabby Patty?
No, that's Fear of the Krabby Patty is the one where Mr. Krabs is open 24/7 and SpongeBob loses his mind.
Oh, the hash-slinging slasher?
No, not that one. It's series 4. So it's the one where SpongeBob's awake for like months, for like 40 days, and goes crazy, and then gets scared of Krabby Patties because he's been making them for like a week straight. And so he goes to Plankton as a therapist, quote unquote, to talk about his fear and hopefully get the formula out of him.
So this sounds like exactly when SpongeBob started getting weird.
You're right. This is like
no, SpongeBob took a turn at
right
season 4. I don't. Yeah.
Well, because the creator.
So is this for real?
Let's find out. But the creator left. The original creator left after the first SpongeBob movie. That's why it started getting weird.
Right.
I told you that
and
last
I was
time.
like, I wouldn't watch it anymore. Even to this day, like I'll watch the newer seasons, and I'm like creeped out almost. Like it's not funny like it used to be. It's like the animation is very like it's too much.
Well, yeah, because the original were paper before they were done traditionally by hand on paper and scanned. The newer ones, it's all on computers, so it looks a little too slick, and it's just. I will say the newest season does like do a lot of callbacks to like they brought back Doodle Bob.
Really?
They go to his world and they fight him. SpongeBob was like the everyman. Like he was stupid and goofy, but like when he needed to be, he could be serious and like get shit done. And Patrick was like the absolutely stupid one. Mm-hmm. Now they're both the same. They're both just incomprehensibly idiotic without any repercussions. Like they just they're just stupid for stupid's sake, and it's lame. There's no thought. Kids are smarter than that. Come on. Anyway. So it was Fear of a Krabby Patty. Now, given that the final cut wasn't available yet, the animators put in mock title cards and storyboard pictures, which they typically do. It's sort of an inside joke for us, with phony, oftentimes lewd titles between for episode titles, just to get a laugh while we're in the editing process. One guy put, "This is how sex doesn't work," or "Rockabye, bye-bye, die-die," which was kind of stupid. Okay. In which SpongeBob and Patrick adopt a sea scallop. Oh, I remember that one. Nothing in particular or super funny, but it was funny to us while we were working on it. So when I see the title card, Squidward's Sewer Slide, we didn't think much of it. Just a morbid joke. One thing the other interns did just to make us laugh. The episode started with the happy-go-lucky music playing as normal. The story began, Squidward practicing his clarinet, hitting a few sour notes like normal. We hear SpongeBob laughing outside. Squidward stops yelling at him to keep it down, as he has a concert that night and needs to practice. SpongeBob says okay and goes to see Sandy with Patrick. The bubble splash screen / transition comes up, and we see the ending of Squidward's concert. This is when things began to seem off. While playing, a few frames repeat themselves, but the sound doesn't. It's supposed to be synced with the animation. So yes, that's not common. When Squidward stops playing, the sound finishes as if the skip never happened. There is a slight murmuring in the crowd before they begin to boo him. Not the normal cartoon booing that's common for the show, mind you. You could very clearly hear the malice in it. Squidward's full frame and looks visibly afraid. The shot goes to the crowd, with SpongeBob in the center of the frame. He too is booing and looks very unhappy. It is the oddest thing, though. What's odd is that everyone had hyper-realistic eyes. Holy shit, not that. That hyper-realistic eye thing.
I'm literally getting goosebumps already.
Okay, I'll give my opinions at the end. All the details, clearly not shots of real people's eyes, but something a bit more real than CGI. The pupils were red. Some of them looked at each other, obviously confused, but seemed we weren't the writers and we didn't question what this was for, and that it somehow appealed to children. The shot goes to Squidward sitting on the edge of his bed, looking very forlorn. The view out his porthole window is of the night sky, so it isn't very long after the concert. The unsettling part at this point is there's no sound, literally no sound at all. Not even the feedback from the speakers was working, it seemed like. They seemed like they were turned off or something. The Squidward sat there in absolute silence, just blinking every 30 seconds, and then started slowly sobbing. He put his hands in his hands/tentacles over his eyes and cried quietly for a full minute with no sound. All the while, a sound in the background started gradually growing from nothing to being barely audible. It sounded like a slight breeze through a forest. The screen slowly begins to zoom in on his face, and by slowly, I mean that it's only noticeable if you look at the shots 10 seconds apart side by side. He's sobbing louder and more full of hurt and anger. The screen then twitches a bit, as if it twists on itself for a split second before going back to normal. The wind through the trees sounds like it's getting louder and more severe, as if a storm is brewing up somewhere. The eerie part is that the sound and Squidward's sobbing sounded real. It was like it wasn't coming from the speakers, but that the speakers themselves were holes where the sound would travel through from the other side. As good as the sound was, the studio did not have equipment to make audio sound that high quality. Below the sound of the wind and sobbing, a faint audible something sounded like laughing. It came at odd intervals and never lasted more than a second. So you have a hard time pinning it. We watched the episode twice, so pardon me if things seem too specific, but I've had time to think about this. After 30 seconds of this, the screen blurred and twitched violently, and something flashed over it as a single frame was replaced. The lead animation editor paused and rewound the frame by frame. What we saw was horrible. It was a still photo of a dead child. He couldn't have been more than 6. His face was mangled and bloodied, one eye dangling over it, and it had been popped out. He was naked and underwater.
Like a real human?
Mm-hmm. His stomach crudely cut open and his entrails sprayed out beside him. He was laying on some pavement. Oh, sorry. He was naked in his underwear, not underwater. He was laying on some pavement that was probably a road. The most upsetting part was that there was a shadow of the photographer, but no crime tape, no evidence tags, no markers, and the angle was completely off for a shot designed to be evidence. It would seem that they were the person responsible for this child's death. We were, of course, mortified, but pressed on, hoping that this was just some kind of sick joke and expecting someone to burst in and say, "Gotcha!" But the screen flipped back to Squidward still sobbing louder than before. Half of his body in the frame, and there was now what appeared to be blood running down his face from his eyes. The blood was also done in a hyper-realistic style. Ugh, stupid. Looking as if you'd get your fingers... Looking as if you'd get it on your fingers if you touched the screen. The wind sounded now as if it were at the gale... As if the gale was blowing through a forest. There was even snapping sounds like branches and laughing and a deep baritone that lasted for longer intervals and came more frequently. After about 20 seconds, the screen again twisted and showed a single frame photo. The editors reluctantly went back again. But we all knew we had to do it. And this time the photo appeared to be of a little girl, no older than the first child. She was lying on her stomach. Her barrettes in a pool of blood next to her. Her left eye was damaged in the same way the boy's was, and she was naked, except for underwear. Her entrails were piled on top of her, and another crude cut along the back. Again, the body was on the street, and the photographer's shadow was visible. A very similar sized and shape and fit. I had to choke back vomit, and one intern, and the only female in the room, ran out, and we resumed. After about 5 seconds, after seeing this photo, Squidward went silent, and all the sound cut out again, like it did when it started. He put his tentacles down, and his eyes were now in a hyper-realism than the others, than they used to be. They were bleeding, bloodshot, pulsating, and he stared at the screen as if watching us. After about 10 seconds, he started sobbing, and this time not covering his eyes. The sound was piercing and loud, and most fear-inducing thing of all is that his sobbing was mixed with screams. Tears and blood were dripping down his face at a heavy rate. The wind came back, and so did the deep voice laughing. This time, a still photo lasted for a good 5 frames. The animator was able to stop it on the 4th and backed up. This time, the photo was of a boy, about the same age as the other kids. But the scene was different. His entrails were being pulled from his stomach. The wound had a large hand, but there was a large hand inside his stomach pulling them out. The right eye popped and dangled. Blood trickled down, and the animator proceeded. The next frame was different, but we couldn't tell how. He continued to the next image, and it was the same thing. He then went back to the first and played them quicker, and I lost it. I vomited on the floor. The animation and the sound editors gasped at the screen. The 5 frames were not of different photos. They were frames from a video. We saw the hand slowly pull the guts out, and we saw the kid's eyes look and watch him do it and start to blink. Fuck me, man. I didn't know that.
This is crazy.
All right.
This is crazy.
There's a few more paragraphs. The lead sound editor told us to stop. He had to call the creator to see this, Mr. Hillenberg himself. He arrived in 15 minutes. He was confused, and this is what killed him. No, that's mean. He was confused as to why he had been called down. So the editor just continued on the episode. Once the next few frames were shown, all the screaming and sound again stopped. Squidward was just staring at the viewer, his face taking up about 3 full frames for about 3 seconds. The shot quickly panned, and the deep voice said, "Do it." And we saw a shotgun in Squidward's hands. He immediately put the gun in his mouth and pulled the trigger. Realistic blood and brain matter splattered on the walls behind him and his bed. He flies back with force. The last 5 seconds of the episode show his body on the bed on its side, one eye dangling from what was left of his head, and on the floor. And staring at the floor blankly, the episode ends. Mr. Hillenberg was obviously angry. He demanded to know what the hell was going on. Most people left the room at this point, so there was just a handful of us left to watch it again. Viewing this episode twice, only severe to imprint the entirety of it into my mind and cause me horrible nightmares. I'm sorry I stayed. The only theory we could think of was that the file had been edited by someone in the chain from the drawing studio here. The COT was called, I don't know what that means, was called to find out when it happened. Analysis of the file did show it was mixed with new material. However, the timestamp change was a mere 24 seconds before we began viewing. All equipment involved was examined, a foreign software, hardware, as well as glitches, and such timestamps was showing us the wrong time, but everything checked out fine. We didn't know what happened, and to this day, nobody knows how this stuff got in there. There's an investigation to the nature of the photos, but nothing came of it. No children were identified, no clues were gathered from the data involved, nor physical clues from the photos. I never believed in the unexplainable phenomenon before, but now I have something that has happened to me, and I can't prove anything about it beyond the anecdotal evidence. I still think about this to this day.
That was wild. Like, I did not
Really?
know it was going to get that crazy.
So this is one of like the OGs, and it's been memed to death because the thing that says hyper realistic, that becomes such a stupid creepypasta trope because Squidward and Ben Drown kind of popularized TV shows and video game creepypastas, like the Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. Ben Drown, my favorite one. The creator actually went and hacked the game to make it look like it was haunted, which is really cool. But yeah, this one is considered really cheesy and dumb. Like,
Really?
you were scared of that?
Yeah. Yes, I literally, that's why I had to stop listening to these, because every time I listen to them, I literally fully, like, I watched that whole thing.
Yeah.
Like, as you were talking.
Yeah, me too.
You know?
But yeah,
And
this
so I
is
was
very
like,
fake. This is not real. But what's funny is in a modern SpongeBob episode, so
I just wasn't expecting, like, real
I actually
children to be involved. I thought it was just going to be like a
I
creepy
didn't
SpongeBob
know.
episode.
I'm curious because I don't know if Red Mist and Squidward Suicide are the same thing.
Yeah,
so
that doesn't-
I think the story is expanded upon, but I'm not sure. Yeah, Red Mist retake. So it looks like there is a. So what's funny is in the SpongeBob show, they put that image in an episode to pay homage to the story.
Really? Nickelodeon, if you're watching this, please change SpongeBob back. I just hate the over like animation. Like bring back the dumb jokes.
Yeah, that was Steve Hillenburg. That's his writing. That's why it was so good. He's a great creator.
And he's not
He died. Remember? I told you
alive
this.
anymore.
Yeah,
Yes.
he died many years ago.
I keep forgetting.
And you know what's funny? He wanted so bad to end the series because he's like, SpongeBob needs an ending. And then we move on to something else. And like, SpongeBob should be just a thing, and if it enjoys it and can come back to it. I'm like, that's what it should have been.
Right.
But Nickelodeon was like, this is our golden goose. We
Yeah.
must milk the goose for the money.
I will only watch seasons 1 through 3 and movie.
Well, because Steve Hillenburg famously said after he left Nickelodeon, I don't want spinoffs. I don't want like stupid Krabby Patty, like actual Krabby Patties made. I want this to be maintained. The second he died, how many spinoff movies are there? How much shit did they just go and do and just didn't care?
And guess
what?
what? Nobody likes those.
And nobody likes it at all now.
Everybody likes the OG ones that Steven.
Mm-hmm. The machinations of my mind are an enigma.
You
Milk.
better spin, Steven. You
I-
better spin.
What?
Did you see that? The TikToks from the pommel horse, Olympic pommel
Oh,
horse
yeah.
guy? Yeah. You know,
I know. He's your friend, right? The pommel horse guy?
no, you know Tess McCracken? You
Yeah.
remember? She's dating him.
What?
Yeah, that's why
We
I
know
like,
them.
know of him. They're like, yeah.
And he blew up. People
Yeah.
love him.
He's on Dancing with the Stars. I keep up
Really?
with him. Yeah, he's on Dancing with the Stars right now, and he's killing it.
Oh, sweet.
There's just a TikTok whenever he was doing the pommel horse, and this girl was like, "You better spin, Steven."
All right.
So we just say it all the time.
Yeah, to end the episode, I guess, fun fact, she used to do gymnastics for a long time, so she knows people in that world. So the meme guy from the Olympics, the pommel horse guy with the glasses, like, we know him. 1 degree away from him.
Yeah, so I don't even know if his girlfriend would remember who I am, but I did gymnastics with her whenever I was little, when we were little. And then, so like, I still know of her and I like follow her on Instagram. And then all of a sudden she was like, oh, my boyfriend's going to the Olympics. And I was like, whoa, that's crazy. And then I kept up with it and stuff. So I guess Tess or Steven, if you see this, like,
My favorite one,
congrats. You guys are awesome.
my favorite meme is when all the news stations made edits of him going, do, Steve, do, Steve.
They're so cute. He's so cute, and they're so cute together. They're such a wholesome little couple. I love it.
All right, well, that's all I've got today. So
All right.
if you're up for it, we can keep the creepypasta thing going, and I can read some short ones at the end. If that sounds fun, kind of fresh.
Yeah, no, I like the creepypastas. I do.
How about-
And I think that's
Yeah.
different because, like,
Yeah.
rather than just doing Reddit stories or whatever. So.
And I'm gonna expand. I'm trying to find some outside of like, am I the asshole? Because I'm trying to find some like Karen ones, some entitled people stuff, and stuff about parenting. Because I, being a parent, think I can weigh in on that subject. So
Yeah.
okay, that's all we got. Bye.
Bye.